The following is an AZPM original production.
Arizona Science is supported by Research Corporation for Science Advancement.
For AZPM, I'm Leslie Tolbert, Regents Professor Emerita in Neuroscience at the University of Arizona, and this is Arizona Science. Our guest today is Richard Powell, Professor Emeritus of Optical Sciences and of Material Science and of Physics, and former Director of the university's Optical Sciences Center. He also served as Vice President for Research for the University of Arizona. Thank you for joining us today, Dick.
You're welcome, Leslie. It's nice to be with you.
After a really rich career in research, you were in government labs and in universities, university-level teaching, research administration. You're now doing something that seems completely different in your so-called retirement. I'd like to talk about your project to write a physics textbook designed for homeschooling at the high school level. What inspired you to take on this project?
Well, like most scientists, when I retired in 2006, I became a consultant. And then after several years, people forgot who I was, and I wasn't getting asked to consult anymore. So I needed something to do. And I was talking to my son in Nashville, who's the art director for a publishing company that is the most successful publishing company for science curriculum for homeschoolers, Apologia. And he said they were looking for someone to write a new physics textbook for them. And did I know anyone? And I said, sure, me, and volunteered without thinking about what I was doing.
And how different is it to write for homeschoolers?
If you write a high school textbook, generally your writing audience is the teacher, high school teacher, who has some background in physics, hopefully, and can interpret what you've written to the students. But if you're homeschooling, your audience is the students. So you have to write in a way that appeals to and is understandable to teenagers with no background in the subject.
And how did you know what was going to be grade appropriate?
Well, I looked online at what physics textbooks people are using, and I found a wide variety, of course, but there were a couple that were recommended by the National Science Foundation or American Institute of Physics that were pretty comprehensive and really good books, and those are the ones that I modeled mine after. I did my own, of course, but the breadth of it and the content of it at that level is what I emulated.
Were you writing for parents to do some interpreting, or were you writing for the child at the grade level
I was writing for the child at the grade level. I think many parents haven't ever had physics and are intimidated by it and would have trouble doing it. But the company I'm working for has not only the curriculum and selling in the books, but they have online presence where if a student is having trouble understanding something, he can contact them and ask the questions and get answers. And so it's much more easy for the student to work with them.
So for me growing up, science was fun in part because we got to do experiments. You didn't just sit in your seat and read or write. Were you able to incorporate experiments? And if so, what kinds of experiments were they?
Yes, every chapter covering every area of physics has at least one, if not more than one, experiment. Many of them are kind of standard things that people have used for demonstrating certain physics complexes. A couple of the newer ones, when we got into quantum mechanics and some of the new physics, I had to make up myself, but most of them were pretty standard things.
Well, thank you. I think it's phenomenal that someone who's had such a rich impact on physics at a very high level is now helping students get engaged, stay engaged, and be the next generation to follow in your footsteps. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a fun project.
Dick Powell is a leading expert in optical science and physics and served in many high-level research, teaching, and administrative roles at the University of Arizona. And now I think what you're doing with students in elementary and high schools is very exciting. You can listen to this and all Arizona Science conversations at azpm.org/Arizona Science. I'm Leslie Tolbert.
Thank you to Research Corporation for Science Advancement for their support of Arizona Science. AZPM podcasts are made possible in part by donations from listeners like you. Learn more at support.azpm.org. Thank you.